Enter Charles Frazier, author of 3 previous books, including the heavily respected Civil War narrative Cold Mountain, together with Varina and its focus in an equally sad life. Of poor, distressed Mary Todd Lincoln, much was written, in fiction and non-fiction. Of Varina Howell Davis, First Lady of the Confederacy, relatively little.
Historical fiction uses real-life characters, it blends fact and fancy into their stories, and invented people whose presence deepens the narrative. Frazier, a native North Carolinian, employs both but begins his story with 2 from history, Varina, pronounced Varina, and a mixed-race man, James Blake, who as a young child named Jimmy Limber was rescued off a Richmond street, taken in by Varina and treated as one of the Davis family.
Jimmy Limber disappeared from history after the fall of Richmond in 1865, but in Varina his adult incarnation travels to Saratoga Springs, New York, in 1906 to question Varina about his memories. In talking with him, she recounts her past, from her Mississippi birth in 1826 to her wedding in 1845 to Jefferson Davis, a widower 18 years her senior. She tells James of their marriage, often at odds and at geographical and emotional distance, of their years in Washington when he served in the Senate and as Secretary of War, and, most prominently, of the Civil War, their lives in Richmond, the defeat of the Confederacy and their separate failed attempts to reach Cuba.
Frazier invests this melancholy story with moving power born of Varina's struggles. Of her 6 children, 5 preceded her in death, including 5-year-old Joe, who suffered a fatal fall from a balcony at the White House of the Confederacy, and of her self-awareness. Despite her realization that the South's secession was a rotten effort destined to end in failure and devastation, she acquiesced in her role as Jefferson's consort, and lived to repent.
The author's rendering of her dramatic journey from Richmond to Georgia, where Jefferson and his band caught up with hers and where all were captured, is fraught with hardship and loss, but also with courage and resignation. And his ability to fold research and imagination into passionate and revelatory fiction again delivers.
The first sound of a culture collapsing from its highest steeples starts as a whisper, a sigh, the rattle of windows in their frames. Nobody listens until it thunders, when its structure, all the massive weight held in air as by a magician's trick depending on sleight of hand, misdirection of attention, collapses to its foundational sense.
Civilization balance is always on a keen and precarious point, a showman spinning a fine-spode dinner plate on a long dowel slender as a stem of hay. A puff of breath, a moment's lost attention, and it's all gone, crashed to ruination, shards in the dirt. Then mankind retreats to the caves, leaving little behind but obelisks weathering to nubs like broken teeth, dissolving to beach sand.